Oh, right. Last one. Should we get it done?
Yeah.
Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
We're still on cloud 9 after Wembley last weekend, but it's a bump back down to earth for some of the squad as the release list was confirmed earlier this week. We look at who is departing and who is staying, while also reviewing our pre-season predictions and giving our end-of-season awards.
There's a Neil with a pass so true to Balder Stone and Clark's in view. There's a cross and a run, the old 1-2 and a shot.
Yeah, still very much on cloud 9, Dan. I don't know about you, but it's hard to come down from it, isn't it, really, after a weekend like that?
Yeah, it's this week's absolutely flown in. There's been a couple of bits come out the club, more to come. Everyone's just buzzing, aren't they?
How many times have you watched Amari Patrick's goal back now, do you reckon?
78,963 or something.
Something like that, isn't it? It's just every now and then, when you need a little pickup, you're like, oh, go on, I'll give it another watch, won't I? And yeah, I spent a huge chunk of the week going on YouTube finding all the vloggers that went to the game. About 90% of which went in the Stockport end. So you get an amazing view of all the limbs at our end from the Patrick goal, don't you? Which is just like, it still blows my mind how crazy that it went when that goal went in. And it's one of my favourite things as well is when they're showing the penalty shootout, is when Charter's penalty goes in, it's the deathly silence in the end that they're in the Stockport end.
Yeah.
No noise at all and just a wall of noise coming from the other end. It's just wonderful. Still say it's still up there as the best experience I've had as a Carlisle fan probably at the moment.
Yeah,
I think
pretty
in terms
much.
of a day out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got first Wembley, you went to Wembley the first time, so
Yeah.
it's different for you. You've got that.
It's on a par. I mean, that was, like I said last time, that was more about the occasion.
Yeah.
That was, Carlisle at Wembley. Nobody ever thought that would ever happen. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's certainly on a par with it.
Absolutely. Right, so today's episode, as you heard there in the intro, the plan is we're going to do a couple of little bits of news. We've got the retained list to do, so we're going to look at that. We'll have a little discussion about some of the players going, some of the players staying. We've also got the kit supplier announcement, which was confirmed earlier today, because we're recording this Friday lunchtime. We're then going to do our end of season awards. Now, these are the presenter ones. We're going to do a poll for the listeners, which will go up sometime over the weekend, hopefully, where you get to pick your player. We're restricting it to players who've made 10 league appearances or more this season, so that, it just keeps it a little bit sensible when you do that, I think. And then we're also going to do a review of our pre-season predictions. And it's safe to say that some of us are going to be a little bit more embarrassed than others with some of their selections. One of them may well not be on this recording right now. Let's just say that. But yeah, and then basically, we've got the ex-Blues as well, Dan. You're going to be rounding up a bit there, aren't you?
Yeah, we're just going to concentrate on ex-Carlisle players released by their clubs in the 72.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen a few transfers already, but we'll save them for our midsummer special around fixture release date.
Yep. And then we're just going to finish off a little final word, just a few minutes, summing up how we feel after this season and what this squad has done for us this year and how it's made us feel as Carlisle fans and that kind of thing. So there you go. Right, let's get into it. Oh, actually, before we start on the news, I should say apologies to the London branch, because last week I forgot to mention them being sponsored to the pod. I think I was just still too hungover from Wembley, because we made the mistake of recording on the Monday when we were all still feeling a bit like death from such a long day. So apologies to them, but here is the usual bit that tells you about our sponsors this season. They've been fantastic, London Branch. I've got to say a huge thank you for the support they've given us this season. It's really helped us with our hosting costs, which means it makes it much easier for you guys to find the podcast. It's a hugely appreciated, and you'll hear in the bit in just a second. Find out more about them. If you live outside Cumbria, even if you live in Cumbria, you can still join. But if you're outside Cumbria, join, because they're really good in terms of getting information and especially helping fundraise for the clubs and that kind of thing. So get yourself onto their website and all that stuff, and also a bit of information about how to subscribe to the podcast and where you can find us and contact us. Drop that in there. Okay, Dan, then let's get into it. So let's get into the news section and the retain list. So this was announced a bit earlier than we expected. We thought it might come out Wednesday or Thursday, didn't we? But it was confirmed on Tuesday morning. First thing by Simo.
I think that was because the players obviously got back Monday, went out, had a free Indian at the Viceroy, and then they were on Botchergate. And while they're about, get hold of them. I know a couple had been spoken to on the Monday because they had holiday bookings, etc.
Yeah.
But like Simo said, it's not the nice part of the job, but the planning started when Taylor Charter's whistle went in, really, you know.
Well, yeah, it's funny. He actually said, didn't he, Simo? He said, I was starting to think about it already on the Sunday night when I was having a beer with Greg Abbott in the hotel. We both had a chat about, well, what can we do now and things like that. So, I mean, clearly some planning had gone in beforehand, but it's a case of activating the plans they've already put in place, isn't it, really? So,
oh, yeah. Greg will have lists for all positions, and there'll be targets 1, 2, and 3 in all.
It's quite...
That's basic football squad planning, you know.
It's quite exciting to think about the standard of loan player he's going to be able to get in as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you think how good the player used to get for us back in his manager days. It's
between the pair of them, Simo and Greg Abbott have a hell of a lot of contacts.
Yeah. It's funny when I look back at a few comments when he was appointed. There's a few people suggesting, no, the only reason he got some certain players was Graham Kavanagh being in there. I think people underestimate how well known Greg is throughout the game and how good a contact base he's built up in his time. But yeah, so as you said there, basically Simo did speak to a couple of players on the Monday, I think, after the actual final, and as you said, amazing scenes of the players out having the curry and walk about enjoying themselves. I've seen a few photos from people who were there, and
big shout to them for nipping outside to see a bunch of younger fans who obviously couldn't just walk in a boozer with bouncers on, and the players had them on the shoulders, dancing with them for a couple of minutes, and that's a load of young kids attached to the club permanently now.
Exactly that. Right, well, let's go for the retain list then, Dan. First up, I mean, let's just cover the ones who are contracted for next season. So, as we know, Jack Armour, Ryan Edmondson, Jack Ellis, Joe Garner, Callum Guy, Jaden Harris, Thomas Hurley, Paul Huntington and Owen Moxon. They were already contracted to next season. It's not a bad set of players, is it, really, when you look at it there?
No. I think the only one there that raises the question is probably Harris.
And with him, I think it's going to be a case of people looking at it and think, I think Simo would not have anticipated we would have. I'm not saying we wouldn't have anticipated, but I think his best hope for this season would be to get promoted. Of course it would. Yeah. I think that his realistic cap would have said there's a decent chance actually we won't, and we might be mid-table, and Harris might get a few more opportunities. As it is, we've done so well. I don't think he's played since probably the Doncaster game on New Year's Day. He might have played a couple of games since then, but he's not really played much, has he? So his development's been stunted a little bit, and going up to League One, I'd imagine there's a decent chance we might look to loan him out to a League Two club next season just to get him some game time. He's got 2 more years left on his deal, so you want to develop him, don't you? Really?
Certainly, the first half of the season, would be an idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We just need to get him a bit of game time. Now, the next bit up: players with clauses activated for the 2023-2024 season. Gabe Breeze. We kind of expected that one was going to be triggered, didn't we? We felt, he's been involved in training with the keepers on match days and stuff like that.
Interesting, though, that in his comments, I think Simo suggested we still want another keeper. And
you're jumping ahead there.
Yeah, but he would expect Breeze would possibly be loaned early.
Yeah, that would suggest that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Max Kilsby is another one. I think we 100% expected that one because he had a brilliant season at Annan, so that's really good to see. John Mellish, I mean, again, that was a given, wasn't it? I think basically it was said that he was going to be done.
Just give him a new 5-year deal and be done with it.
He loves it and he wants to stay. I imagine you probably find some point in pre-season or early in the season something will be sorted with him.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed if it wasn't. Now, the next two were a bit surprised because no one knew there was clauses or options with these 2 players. And it sounds like, from what Simo said, this isn't an appearance-based thing. There may be like a bit of we're just not saying it's appearance-based, but he suggested it's a club option that was taken. Jordan Gibson and Corey Whelan. Corey Whelan especially is the one that surprised us because we thought probably likely to be released at the end of the season. Jordan Gibson I'm not quite surprised by because I think Simo recognises as a very good player now. We could, he could well excel at League One level possibly. What was your thoughts when you heard those two there?
I can see why with both. There was talk that Whelan may have been appearance-based, even though it wasn't mentioned, because I think when it comes to appearances, they don't count trophy, but they count normal cups and league. And playing on Sunday was his 30th game of the season, apparently, which would sort of be about the figure you would expect on a trigger. Gibson, again, when he's in the mood and on form, he can be unplayable. He just needs to get the consistency. Would it be a surprise if people came in for both of those players? Maybe not. We know there was interest in Whelan in January from the team.
My feeling with Whelan is that it's sometimes good when you're coming up to a new division, you just got promoted, you don't want to destabilise things too much. Having someone in there who's a reliable player, you can drop in and will do a job in that role at centre-back if needed, and he won't complain. He won't be sulking around the club if he's not involved. If he's on the bench and having to wait his time, he'll be calm and he'll be collected. He'll be fine about that. Having someone in like that, I think, is a real positive, actually. He's clearly a very good influence around the club as well. That's the impression you get from what we've seen. I don't have an issue. I think it's... I didn't expect it. I'm unhappy about it, not in the slightest. I think, yep, that's fair enough. I think keeping together the 90% of that defence, I'm fine with next season, because they've had a really good season when you think back about it, don't you? So keeping that solid to start with. Simo did similar when we got promoted from League Two last time, didn't he? There wasn't major changes in defence. That sort of came a little bit later, didn't it, really? There was tweaks done to it in the following seasons. So yeah, I don't have an issue with that. In terms of Gibson, it's interesting because I did a bit for the Not the Top 20 podcast for their Substack. So it's like a sort of blog page they've got. They did a review of each club and how their season's gone in League Two, and they asked me to do the Carlisle section. And I noted that the guy who did the Colchester one, because one of the questions was, who's the best opposition player you've seen at your ground? And Owen Moxon obviously gets mentioned a lot. Luke Bolton at Salford is the one we picked for us, and he actually gets mentioned a lot. For Colchester, the guy there mentioned Jordan Gibson. And he said, I appreciate he's been in and out of Carlisle's team all season, but he said he was excellent that day. Like, he so good for them. If we can really rediscover that form he had in that first half of the season, I think he could really excel at League One level.
Yeah, like I say, just the tools are there. It's just making sure he's fully trained on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's definitely ability there. So let's hope we can get the best out of him next season. So in terms of players offered new deals, 4 players have been offered a new contract. Out of those out of contract, they are Taylor Charters. Again, not a huge surprise about that one. Christian Dennis, which maybe a little bit of a surprise for some people. That one, there was a feeling, would he be ready to step up at his age to League One possibly? Morgan Feeney, again, no surprise there. And Amari Patrick was the other one. I have to admit, I'm not actually that surprised that all 4 have been offered deals. I feel it kind of makes sense to do that, really. But any thoughts for yourself, Dan?
I think Charters is a no-brainer, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't sign.
Yeah.
Feeney, there'll be interest in Feeney.
100%.
But we know people who've chatted to people who know him in recent weeks, and he loves it here. So
yeah,
I think Feeney will stay. Dennis, I know for a fact, is looking for a 2-year deal. Given the fact he's just scored 21 goals at 33-year-old, I can fully understand that. I understand he's been offered 1 year. I don't know if there'll be a bit of to and fro, and we'll maybe offer one with a trigger for the 2nd year.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't, and he can get similar money on a 2-year elsewhere, he may move on. I'll be interested to see how that pans out. Patrick's the interesting one because he is one of the most infuriating players we've had in a long time. When he's on fire, he is on fire. When he's not, he's not.
He's had a
very
disrupted
Marmite.
season, though, hasn't he? He's had a very
Yeah, he
disrupted
has, to be
season. He
fair.
didn't. His pre-season was completely disrupted, which really didn't help things. Then getting that injury against Hartlepool after he'd scored 2 goals in that game as well was so frustrating too.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was teams interested in Patrick.
Oh yeah,
And scoring at Wembley will do him no harm at all.
no,
I think of the 4, I think Charters and Feeney stay, and I'd say the other 2 are 50-50.
yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And like I said, I think Charters stays, which is fantastic because I think he recognises he has a chance to potentially step up and take Moxon's mantle if he was to leave and make a big move in the summer. Feeney, he's club captain, he's well liked. He's got himself to League One with us. I'm sure he'll want to have a go at that. Like I said, with Dennis, it's one of those ones. I don't think there'd be any hard feelings if he decided to go either way, would there? I think he'd recognise the club has to make a decision there. They've offered him something. I'd imagine that he's probably getting better money than he's currently on. But the 1 year, the security, isn't it? You want the 2 years, don't you, as a professional? Yeah. So,
like I've said previously, I know people who know Christian Dennis, and he's a very switched on fella when it comes to contracts and money, etc.
Yeah. So, if he moves on, I think everyone would shake hands and say, "Thank you very much. You've been brilliant. All the best." And we don't blame you for going and trying to get the best possible deal at your age.
Remember who blew the trumpet for him in pre-season last season and told you
come on,
that he would deliver.
You're jumping ahead again for the our pre-season prediction reviews.
A few points.
Yes, you are.
To those who wanted to sell him in July.
It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Amari Patrick, again, like I said, the understanding I have is that the money he's on is not far off what he was on at Burton. So League One money. And that's where I
think we basically took his contract over, didn't we, when he came back?
Yeah, and I think there's a feeling of like, okay, you've done well in that when you initially came back. You haven't probably done as well this season.
I think also we look from the players that are staying that as though we're going to continue with the 5-3-2.
Yeah, but I'm sure there'll always be the option to potentially switch and change.
Yeah. But if it's going to be our main outlet 5-3-2, that doesn't lend itself to Patrick as much as a 4-3-3 would.
No. I do hope he stays there because I feel like he could really excel at League One level. I don't think Burton ever really got the best out of him, but I think at a club where he's fairly well liked, I know there's some fans find him frustrating, but I think he could do well for us. But there you go. Right, release list time. I should say Kai Nugent has obviously graduated as a scholar, so he'll be added to the squad as well.
And we think he will likely go out on loan. You would think to get some games. Yeah,
definitely. Right, players release. So I'm going to pick out some of the sort of fringe ones first. Who, they're not the main ones, and we kind of anticipate. So Lewis Bell, Sam Fishburn, Josh Dixon, and Scott Simons have all gone. I feel a bit for all 4 of them, really, in a sense. I mean, with Sam Fishburn, so frustrating that he never kicked on from that loan at Lancaster City. And it's one of those ones where you look back and think, should we have just left him there? I know we were a bit desperate at the time, but he wasn't used that much when he came back. He was used a bit, but it felt like a terrible use of our resources, really, to bring him back from a loan spell where he was learning, clearly.
Yeah.
It feels like it went to his head a little bit as well, being called back and, getting his pro deal and all that stuff. And I don't think he handled it as well as I think he could have done. I still think there's a good player there. And I think if he can
certainly got a nice car, didn't he?
He did, as we see on his Instagram story all the time. But hey, look, I hope the lad sorts himself out and gets himself sorted because I think there is a good player in there. Yeah. In terms of Lewis Bell, again, one who was so unlucky, looked like he was breaking and looking decent, and then that COVID hit him really hard, didn't it? And he never really recovered from that. I'd imagine he's one who might end up somewhere like Workington, maybe. I think it'd be a good move for him, possibly. A decent, maybe even Annan Athletic, actually, if he could get a move there, possibly, because he, by all accounts, did quite well at Gretna in a struggling team, at Lowland League level. So I know it's a couple of divisions up, but
I was going to say, I wonder if Annan getting promoted would maybe not be ideal.
Possibly, maybe Workington might be a better option for him, but I think either club's a decent move for him if he can get tied down at either of those two. Scott Simons, again, another one who's been so unlucky with injuries, hasn't he? I think I get the impression there, because obviously we know he did a bit of training with the England youth setup, didn't he, for a short while. I get the impression with him, it's him has just looked and thought, Gabe Breeze has been available all season, he's trained, he's been able to develop. It's not fair almost to keep Scott on as a 4th choice keeper if his path's blocked, really, and he's not really going to have a chance to develop. it's much better for him to go out and play football, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's a problem with a lot of the young ones is getting them game time, and I mean, Holdsworth blew the trumpet again on Breeze and Simons, and the problem is when you have two the same age, you can't develop both of them. Sadly,
No,
and I think they've looked at them both over this season because they'll have been cheap for this season, and I think Simon will have a decent career. I mean, he could end up at a Gateshead or something.
Well, the crack I've heard is that Workington are potentially looking to get another keeper this summer because it sounds like there's been a bit of interest in Jim Atkinson, who's done really, really well there. He was at Queen of the South, wasn't he? He's very well thought of, Jim Atkinson. So if he manages to get himself a move, it actually might not be a bad place for him to go. At fairly decent non-league level, show what he can do. Because you do find keepers get picked up from non-league, don't they? You've seen it on there, so it's not a bad place to be. So but finally, of the young lads, got to mention Josh Dixon. I mean, if ever a lad has been unlucky, he's the epitome of it, isn't he?
I think it was twice on one knee and once on the other.
What sums it up is he made his debut for us in that pre-season friendly. Jared Branthwaite played in as well, didn't he, against Hibs?
Yeah.
And he was man of the match, Dixon, that day, wasn't he? He was outstanding. He ran the show, and I remember everybody afterwards raving, saying, "Who's this lad we've got? He looks amazing. He looks unreal." I didn't go to it. I remember listening to the radio commentary, and they just kept saying he's so comfortable on the ball, so confident. Next day, he signs his pro deal 1 year early, doesn't he? In fact, he'd already signed a pro deal, hadn't he? He had a 1 year deal, and I think he signed a 1 year extension the next day, and then promptly went and did his ACL again, having done it as a youth player as well.
Yeah,
and then to get back, do all right, show a few good signs, and then to do it again.
Yeah, I think it was against Huddersfield in that reserve cup, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? And everyone was just like, "Oh no, not again! Surely not." It's just, I really hope you can find a club where he's going to play regularly and show what he's capable of. Again, I know he had a loan spell then; it didn't go that well last time.
I would like to see him go somewhere like Annan.
Annan would not be a bad one. I wonder if Workington would be a good move for him with Danny Granger in charge.
Possibly, yeah.
If I remember rightly, when he went to Workington last time, it was Chris Willock was the manager, wasn't he? I think. Last season.
He was Lancashire, wasn't he?
I get the feeling Granger, having seen him as a player, obviously as well, coming up for the youth setup, he'd look after him, and I think it'd be a smart move for him to go there, possibly, and just build himself up a little bit again. At a decent level. So genuinely, we wish them all four of the young lads the best, but particularly got to mention Josh and really hope he sorts out the injury issues he's got. Other players to pick out, right? Brennan Dickinson, he's had some bad luck as well, to be fair, since he signed for us. We'll find out in some of our predictions in a minute how well we thought of him, but just frustrating for him. But I think he'll have seen this coming, won't he? There's only so many times you can give a player another chance and stuff. And look, I think he'll sort himself out of a League Two club, no bother. I think there'll be enough clubs. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up back at Colchester or something like that. To be honest, would make sense. Who else we got here? Mick Kelly. Got to give a little mention to him. Being a backup keeper is not the easiest job in the world, is it?
No.
Especially when you know you're probably likely to be number two most of the season. To be there, patient and waiting, know that the player ahead of you is comfortably ahead of you. If you're being brutally honest, he's the obvious first choice.
One takeaway from Wembley when Hawley saved that penalty. Mick Kelly was like Usain Bolt to get over to celebrate. That shows what a sound bloke. He's obviously a proper good bloke, and he's just unlucky that Hawley 20 clean sheets. Barred a couple of mistakes, had a bloody good season. So
So no, fair play to that. He seems to be a really good character in the dressing room. There's only so long you can carry that if you're going into League One. As you probably need a slightly better goalkeeper to push Hawley a bit further and potentially push on Gabe Breeze as well. But you only have to look at when he posted up his things about winning and how happy he seems to be. Even he's not played a single league game all season, but he looks so chuffed to be part of it. And you see Hawley's comments on his post, saying my brother, that kind of thing. How much he loves him, and look, he's probably likely to end up back in Ireland. You'd imagine now, maybe, but what a great experience for him getting to go to
He's
Wembley.
had a great year, hasn't he? You know, he's
except for the fireworks at Barrow, but I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll be happy to never go there again. But then again, who wouldn't be happy to do that? Oh, that's a bit naughty, that wasn't it? So fair play to the lad. Good luck to him for the rest of the future. We've got 3 more left to cover here, so I mean, let's cover probably the most contentious, the only real contentious one out of the ones we've released. I think it's fair to say, and even then, I'm not sure how contentious it is, and I think there's a bit of recency bias in this. Joel Senior, so he's been let go. Arguably one of our best players in the playoffs. In the final, quite a few people gave him man of the match. He's been allowed to leave. You know what? I think this is a sign of Simo's capability of being brutal and just being take the emotion out of it and go, you know what? I'm not going to just focus on those 3 games. I'm going to look at the fact that I only picked him once in 2 months at the end of the season. I was using centre backs at right wing backs, so actually, no. Good luck to you, and I'm sure he'll sort himself out of a good.
I think he'll walk into a club. You could see him landing at a Morecambe, an Accrington, a Barrow, no problem at all. Yeah. He's a solid League 2 defender or top end of National League.
Even I was going to say, so even Tranmere Rovers potentially,
Crew or someone,
if they lose Dacres Cogley, and actually Crew are looking for a right back because they let Mella go, didn't they? So. That might be a good move.
Stop jumping ahead.
Sorry, you did it before. So...
I didn't do it as blatant as that, though.
I know. I'm sorry about that. But seriously.
Spent all week building a list up. Yeah.
I go and spoil it. There's a little teaser for you anyway. But no, like I said, I think he'll sort himself out with a move, no bother. And then, do you agree with the decision though, Dan? Do you think he's done the right thing there, Simo?
Being brutally harsh, yes.
Yeah.
And I'd mean that with no disrespect at all.
Yeah.
I'm one of those who thinks you've got to be harsh in football.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Simo's job is to get us as high as he possibly can.
Yeah.
And he obviously thinks he will have better available.
For me, the way I look at it is, I think there's a half decent chance you can get Finn back on loan again next season because we've looked at him well and Forest seem to be impressed with that. But even without that, I think when I've watched Jack Ellis play in that role, he's looked solid, consistent. I can't remember him having a duff game playing at right wing back. Senior has had a few. That's undeniable. He's had some great games there as well, but he's also had a few where he's looked a little bit shaky. I think he needs to go. I think it's good for his career as well, actually. He needs to go somewhere he's going to play week in, week out, not be just sat on the bench waiting for that opportunity at this age. Having come back from an injury like that, he needs to be playing more often. So I think it's all round. He probably doesn't think that right now because he thinks I'm part of a team that got promoted. I play my part, and I understand that. But I think long term he'll look at it and go, actually, this might be the best thing that happens to me to get playing regularly. So. Yeah, all the best, Joel. We genuinely wish him all the best because we all wanted him to be a big success. We were all excited when he first broke in, when he first signed, and then he got that horrible injury. But yeah, I'm sure he'll kick on. So we're down to the last 2, Dan. We'll leave the most emotional one to last. First up, Toby Silva. I think we all kind of expected this was going to happen. It's been a tough season.
I've had a couple of dealings with Toby over the season through Kiosk, and you could not meet a nicer bloke. Genuinely, probably one of the nicest blokes in football. Lovely fella. Addicted to chicken wings, but that's the South London in him, which we had a bit of a joke about. He will get a club, no problem at all, on the M25 roundabout, as I call it. There's a host of clubs that area. In fact, Boreham Wood have already been linked with him. Yeah. I hope he goes to a better club than Boreham Wood because Boreham Wood are arseholes, but
absolutely. I'd hope he finds somewhere better. Yeah, no, I genuinely such a nice bloke from all the dealings we've heard of him. You've had much closer dealings with him than I have, but he just seems so lovely. He's done so much good work in the community. He seems to have bought. It's easy for a player to move up from down south and just not get involved, isn't it? Really, and just take a back seat and not do anything. But actually, he's been fantastic. He's everything you want from a player. You know, getting involved in the community. You know, got involved in his church locally and stuff like that, which is great to see.
Which is a big part of his life. You know, his faith and that. You know, that's his thing, and he actually got some sort of PFA recognition for community work, didn't he?
Yeah, and we haven't really had players that have had that in the past really as much, so it's really nice to see.
It wouldn't surprise me if further down the line he'd be an ideal player to do stuff for the PFA as his employment once his career finishes.
Almost like a PFA chairman or something like that, you know, because that's Omar Beckles.
Or certainly some sort of, you know, community rep type thing or something.
Yeah. He's a really good bloke, and we're going to try and see if we can maybe grab a chat with him or something this summer just to talk about his career and stuff like that. His time with the Blues. I mean, look, you think back last season, some of the moments he gave us helped keep us up when you think about it. You know, the goal against Rochdale when he held off the lad and got through. That game against Northampton, he was unplayable for that last half an hour. They just didn't know what to do with him. The goal against Tranmere late on, even the goal against Colchester before Simo came in, you know, so he's chipped in his part. And even this season, he's had those odd games where he's come in and done well. And you think of that Tranmere FA Cup game where he clearly was not fit enough to be starting games. But he said, no, I'll go in, I'll do a job. And come the 60-minute mark, he could barely walk, couldn't he? And that just shows his commitment, dedication. So huge thanks to Toby. And like you said, he might even find himself at a club lower down in League Two, possibly, you know, a club that thinks actually he's someone who can make an impact for us from the bench at least and stuff like that. So
would it be the biggest surprise if he returned to Sutton? No?
Possibly, I think. I feel like he could. Mind you, they've lost a few players. They've lost Omar Bugle, haven't they, to Wimbledon recently? So maybe they might be looking at him and thinking, actually, you know, he's learnt a bit at Carlisle. He might be a better player. So all the best to Toby. Finally, we got to the last one now. Oh, Jamie Devitt. We all knew it was coming. We all knew it was happening. I'm sure he knew it was happening. I'm sure, you know, it's no surprise to anyone. It's just, it's gutting it's had to end the way it has in the sense of his injuries. And we all knew the risk of him coming back and then staying again this summer. But I'm so glad he got that promotion at the end of it. And he's played his part this season. You know, he's come on in games and made impacts and been a part of the squad, hasn't he? It's just, like I said, you do wonder what's next for him in terms of his career if he can keep on playing, because he's going to be out till August now. He's not going to have a pre-season. It's going to be very tough for him to come back. But what an impact he's had in terms of the club, hasn't he, for a player to come in and who's really bought into what it's like to be a part of Carlisle United. Yeah. And I think, you know, from his statement on Twitter and what Simo's said, it'll be zero surprise if he returns in some sort of coaching capacity maybe in the future. Yeah.
It might not be immediate. Obviously, his first concern is to get to full fitness. Whether he wants to continue playing, that's a discussion he'll have with his family. He could certainly do a job at some of the northern non-league teams that have a bit of money. You know, it'd be maybe great for a year or two, but the way he is with some of the younger players is something a lot of folk have picked up on, and you know, in time, it wouldn't be a surprise if he returned.
I mean, you look at the statement he put out. Like, he mentioned pretty much everybody, hasn't he? Really, he didn't. I don't think he left anyone out in the end.
No.
Mentioned every single, you know, from the media team to the ladies manager and like the cleaners and kit ladies and hospitality and, you know, all kinds, even going like down to every single one of the coaches and like his teammates and the fans as well. You know, the way he talks about them, and he talks about himself as being like a Carlisle fan now as well, which is, you know, a lovely thing to see. And I thought there was a really lovely bit at the very start. Did you see what he said? You know, he said it has been one hell of a journey for you, Cumbrians, and it will stay with me forever. From getting a standing ovation as an opposition player to walking out that blue shirt, I never would have imagined the friends I would have made over that time. That bit about the standing ovation, I remember that. That was when he played for Morecambe, wasn't it? And he absolutely ran the show that afternoon. I think they beat us 3-2, was it, I think? Possibly at Brunton Park. And he was out. Him and Sean Miller, but him particularly, were outstanding that day, weren't they? And he got a proper standing ovation when he came out. And that doesn't happen very often at Brunton Park for an opposition player.
No.
But when we see a really good player, we respect it, don't we? And that, you know, it just goes to show sometimes buttering up opposition players does help, doesn't it? Because that clearly had an impact on him in terms of wanting to come here. But yeah, I mean, he ends obviously saying, you know, I will forever be a Carlisle fan and hopefully one day can return to your amazing club in some capacity. I think it's just a matter of time with that, I'd imagine.
If and when, isn't it?
Yeah, Simo recognises the leadership skills he's got and what he's impact he had. And actually, the thing that stands out when you look at his posts on Instagram and on Twitter is how many replies he's had from pretty much every single player in the squad. I mean, I'm just looking here.
Yeah,
Morgan Feeney, Dev, you're one of the very best, mate. You helped me so much and I'll be forever grateful. Pleasure to share dressing room and pitch with you. Legend. You know, even like Kilsby saying, legend Devitt, treating me like a son, even though like Kilsby out on loan all season. And he feels that, you know, how much he's done for him, and it's just a really, really lovely thing to see. And yeah, gutted for the lad, but you know what? It's the next step in his career, whatever happens next. So all the best to Jamie. And that's it, isn't it? I think I've covered them all. Obviously, the obvious one that loan players have returned to their clubs, and obviously, there's a question there. I would not be surprised if we go for Alfie McCollum in the summer to sign potentially permanently.
No.
I wonder about Jack Robinson now with Kilsby pushing through. I do wonder if maybe we might go a little bit colder on that. But again, it was lovely seeing how much he's bought into being part of the club. I think Kamani Gordon goes somewhere else, I think.
I think he goes Championship because he was on the fringes of the Palace first team squad and he'd got an injury. That's why they were happy to loan out to us at a much lower level.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Raksai, who's been at Charlton in League One, who's absolutely tore League One apart. And I think both players Raksai is maybe just slightly ahead of Gordon, but I think Gordon will go Championship or high-end League One to get games.
Yeah, and we've covered back already earlier in the thing. And Ben Barkley, 50-50 or whether he comes permanently, I don't know. I don't think he stays at Stockport next season, whatever happens. I think he's gone from there.
No.
But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thanks to all the players involved in the season. He's been brilliant. And yeah, so right, next in the news, Dan, Umbro, new kit supplier.
Yeah.
Big one, this one, isn't it?
I've known about this for a while. Obviously, had to keep quiet about it. Initial reaction seems pretty positive on social media. The big question is, what kit are we going to get off them?
Well, it sounds like
the club have already said it's a proper blue at the Forum.
Thank God for that.
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to hear. But it's interesting in saying that they're going to be supplying with bespoke match kits. So it sounds like we're getting actually our own design, which is nice to see. As well as training, leisure wear, and replica merchandise. So are we going to see a replica version of the 1980s pinstripe kits?
I want it as our kit, full stop.
It'd be lovely to have that, wouldn't it? But I don't imagine that's probably going to be it for this season. But yeah, so it sounds like a multi-year deal as well. So it's like, I mean, the fact that it's multi-year sounds like we're getting a good deal at least anyway, which is really positive to see. So that's going to be launched at the fixture breakfast that they have with all the business partners and sponsors on Thursday, the 22nd of June. And then it'll be on sale to season ticket holders that evening, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. before going on general sale from the next day onwards. But yeah, exciting, isn't it? You know, new kits and stuff like that. I'm just glad to see the back of a rear. Cannot stand a rear. Never have been able to. So yeah, glad to get rid of them. Right, that's it for the first half then, Dan. We'll take a short break and then we'll be back to look at our predictions from the start of the season and do our end of season awards.
Hi, I'm Owen Moxon and you're listening to the Brunton Bugle.
Okay, we're into the second half of the last episode of the season. Boo-hoo. Right, let's get into this then, Dan. So what are we going to do next? We're going to do our end of season awards. Right, so we are doing our basically hosts end of season awards rather than a listeners one. The listener one, there'll be a poll for that, which will be coming up on social media the next day or two, hopefully. But basically, we're going to go through and we're going to cover a few different topics here, and we're going to give our choices. Mike has sent us in some audio clips of his choices. Me and Dan are going to make our choices. Then me and Dan are going to decide between them. If Mike's, wants to go and work for the day, how dare he? Then he doesn't get any final decision on the matter. We will take into account what he says a little bit, but we'll have to see how it goes. So, how do you want to start? Should we start with the big one, Dan? Should we start with our player of the season, or should we leave that to last? Feels like we should do that last, doesn't it?
No, straight in, no messing.
Straight in, right. Player of the season. What I'll do, I'll play Mike's clips first, so we know, and then we can sort of discuss. So, this is what Mike had to say in terms of player of the season for the season.
So, for player of the season, I've got to go with Owen Moxon. His first season in professional football, what an impact he's had. I really hope we can keep hold of him in the summer, because I actually think that he'd be even better in League One. Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. Owen Moxon.
Not a massive surprise at Mike's choice there, is it really, Dan? What are you going to go for?
Snap.
I was hoping we'd have a bit of a variety here from everybody else's choices. So you're going to Owen Moxon.
Like I said last episode, when a player scores so highly in all the key performance indicators, it's inevitable, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to say John Mellish, just because why not? Just to mix it up a little bit. I just think. I think
your standard answer, though, isn't it?
It is. I love the big man.
It's like when we do predictions. I always say Dennis, and you always say Mellish.
Exactly. I just feel when he's been out of the team, we've looked a lot weaker. The problem is we haven't really had Moxon out of the team much at all this season, so we haven't really got a comparable answer in terms of that, if you know what I mean. So for me, when Mellish has been out, we've looked poorer. With the exception of the playoffs, we actually did pretty well. We did well actually without him. To be fair, in those games, we adapted. But then I kind of feel like if we'd had him in those games, we probably would have beaten Bradford more comfortably. But yeah, I just feel like the impact he has on the team, the way he lifts the team, the way our play relies so heavily on him and his attacking instincts as well as his defensive, how much he's improved as a defensive player in the last 12 months. He's out like off the scale, isn't it? When you think back to where he was decent under Simo as a defender in the first. At the end of last season, but he's really lifted it to a new level. I think he looks like he's capable of reining in, if you know what I mean, Dan, when he needs to. Yeah. He's not always exuberant going forward attacking. He knows when he has to sit back and do his job. Like again at Wembley, he was on a booking and he didn't take any risks. He kept it sensible. He behaved himself, and the Salford game's the exception, but it was stupid red card, that one anyway. But there you go. But yeah, you two gone Moxon. I'm not going to disagree with that, to be fair. So Owen Moxon, shock horror, is our player of the season. So well done to Owen. Yeah, let's have a round of applause. I'm not playing that every single time because it's going to get irritating. But that's just
incredibly annoying in your ears.
It's so loud, isn't it? I really need to actually adjust the audio file for that. But there you go. So that's our player of the season, Owen Moxon. Right, what's up next? I've lost the list now. Most improved player. Right. Actually, do you want to go first on this one, Dan? Who are you going for, your most improved player?
I'm going to say Christian Dennis. And the basis being, I thought he was all right last season, but he had a couple of niggles. He wasn't 100% fit. And as I've already said, I told you all he would do well. And he scored 21 goals.
Yeah.
When some fans would have been happy to see him move on.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yes, right, I'm going to play Mike's first before I do mine.
For most improved player, it seems a little bit harsh saying Taylor Charters, because it implies that he maybe wasn't very good last year. I've always rated Taylor, but for me, this season, he's become a man, and he's really grown into the team, and he's been keeping other sort of key players out the team at different points in the season. He's played multiple different positions. He's shown a lot of confidence on the pitch. Yeah, it's got to be Taylor Charters.
That's a fairly decent shot, actually, I'd say there for Mike.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that one. Oh, this means I've got a casting vote, or I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and throw someone else in. See, with this, I mean, Jack Armer's a decent shout in terms of most improved. I mean, even Callum Guy, from where he was for a lot of last season, he's lifted his levels up a lot more. I'm going to go with Mike's choice, though. I'm going to go with Taylor Charters as well, actually. I genuinely think to go from where he was, he'd done well in his loan spell at Gateshead, but there was a kind of feeling like, okay, he might have to be patient. He might even have to go on another loan, potentially to see how he develops. But then come in the team, and actually he was keeping Gibson out for a while. He was keeping other players out. When he's been fit, he's looked like a League Two player. And previously he's had those little flashes and spells where he's looked good, but at this point he's started to look really good. So sadly, Dan, you've been outvoted on that one, unfortunately. So it's going to be Taylor Charters. So well done, Taylor Charters, our most improved player of the season. Right, up next is the... I lost my list again. I'm not very good at this. Young player of the season. Now, for this, to be classed as a young player, you have to be 23 or under on the 31st of July last year. So I think I picked out the ones who were eligible for this, Dan, didn't I?
Yeah.
And it's basically back Charters, Armour, Edmondson Senior, Feeney, and Jack Ellis of the ones who've realistically played enough games to be considered. So who are you going to go for as young player of the season?
Jack Armour, all day long.
You know what? I 100% agree with you. I think he's been fantastic.
He's been solid, 7 out of 10 all season. Can't really think of a bad game. He had good games. He had very good games. He had okay games. He didn't really have many bad games.
He's not a stinkers at all.
And his delivery has improved. He gets up and down, up and down.
You forget he's only just turned 22.
He's a perfect advert for getting out and playing real football.
100%.
And the fact that he signed a 3-year deal speaks volumes.
Yeah. And just for sake of completion, here's what Mike said.
For young player of the season, I've got to go with Morgan Feeney. I mean, it's mad that he fits the criteria, really. He seems like such a more mature footballer than his age maybe suggests. Just a real good professional, a real leader, and a fantastic captain for us.
Oh, so you went Morgan Feeney. Interesting. I mean, I can get that, to be fair, because he does fit the criteria that I set out, which I probably should have set a little bit lower, but there you go. But unfortunately, Mike, you're outvoted on that one. Jack Armour is our young player of the season.
Newsflash. Season ticket information has just been released.
Oh, well, we will cover that in just a second then. We're going to get through these awards, but we'll cover that as a breaking news bit after we've covered this bit. Up next, goal of the season, Dan. I think we all know what this is going to be, don't we?
Jack Armour, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd say Jack Armour, and we know this because we've actually listened to these before we recorded, but just for the sake of completion.
Goal of the season, for me, it's got to be Jack Armour at Swindon. I mean, what a strike. He'll try that 100 times and it'll maybe only come off once, but I'm so glad that it did when he did it.
Yeah, can't argue that really, can we? We've all gone for Jack Armour against Swindon. Well done, Jackie, second award there. I've got to say as well, actually, honourable shout to Taylor Charles' goal at Harrogate as well. Brilliant strike, and actually, Callum Guy, the amount of good goals he scored this season, but his goal against Bradford, to hit that through that crowd of players at that time, brilliant stuff. So, but yeah, Jack Armour gets the award. Up next, team performance of the season. So the best performance by the whole team in a game this season. What are you going for here, Dan?
Barrow at home.
Ooh, good shout. That's a really good shout. See, this is what Mike had to say.
Now, for team performance of the season, I'm maybe going to go a little bit against the grain here, but for me, it's the 3-0 win at home to Doncaster earlier on. I think it was the first team that we really battered this season, and I feel it gave the fans and the players a lift into believing that this season we could really do something.
See, I get his point with that one, but my first thought is that Doncaster didn't really turn up that day and they were pretty poor. I thought we were very comfortable in that game. It's partly because we were good, but I wasn't sold on Doncaster. At that point, I thought Doncaster aren't going to have a good season here. You could tell, couldn't you? My own choice, I'm stuck on the fence between your choice, Dan, of the Barrow home game and the away game at Salford. I thought Salford...
That's also a very good shout.
Salford, I thought we were fantastic. Like, we just tore them apart second half, and they're a very good team. We've seen that this season.
I think for me, Barrow gets it purely because it was home. Yeah. It was a so-called derby, and we just absolutely annihilated them.
Yeah, we stepped up again in that game.
And Pete Wild's salty tears afterwards with the icing on the cake after.
You've sold it. You've sold it to me, Dan. Barrow home is our team performance of the season, and I don't think most people would disagree with that, would they? But there you go. Champagne moment, what are we going for? I think we all know what this is going to be, surely.
Well, Taylor Charter's penalty, isn't it?
Champagne moment has to be Taylor Charter's penalty at Wembley. Need I say more?
It's a hat-trick. Taylor Charter's penalty at Wembley. It's got to be, hasn't it, really? Little shout-out to Holy of his penalty save as well, to be fair, involved in that, really. But, yeah, that moment when he put the ball to the back of it, just wonderful. Wonderful. And right, just to wrap up the last two, best opposition team and best opposition player. So, opposition team, best one?
Probably Orient.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were just so far ahead.
yeah. And that game against us, even though we could have won that game, they were so professional and so well drilled, weren't they? Right, here's what Mike said for that one.
Best opposition team, I'm going to have to say Mansfield. I mean, they're the only team that absolutely battered us this season. And it's mental that they didn't make the playoffs.
Good shout, to be fair. In terms of what I've seen, I mean, Stockport away, they were good. Were they that good? Probably not. Mansfield game, I wasn't at, but I watched it on iFollow, and to be fair, yeah, they were excellent. Orient. To be fair, Salford at home, very good against us.
But we hammered them away.
Possibly.
That rules them out for me.
I'm going to go with you then, Dan. Yeah, I think I'd agree on Orient, but I'd say it was very close. What Mike said with the Mansfield game, they just blew us apart in that first half, didn't they? But then the away game, we probably should have won, shouldn't we? So, yeah, well, we'll go with Orient then. So Orient are the best opposition team, best opposition player. Here's what Mike said.
Best opposition player, I'd probably say Carl Piagiani. We just really struggled to get any loose change out of him in our games against Stevenage.
Yeah. I'd say Andy. I'm just joking. Of course not. 4 games, no goals. It's a good shout, Pierre Gianni, but at the same time,
you know what you're getting with him. He's no nonsense. He does the job. He's excellent. He's a bloody good player.
I'd say Luke Bolton. I said it in not the top 20 blog thing I did. Luke Bolton from Salford was
I would say Pierre Gianni.
Yeah. Purely
shades it because he's more important to Stevenage.
Yeah. I'll
their defence is built around him.
Yeah.
He commands that back five or six for them. It's
No, I'd agree with that. I'm fine with that one. So I'll go with you too. So Pierre Gianni is our best opposition player this season, and that's it. That's our end of season awards sorted. It's nice and quick and efficient there, wasn't it? Right. Before we look at the season ticket thing, shall we have a quick look back through our predictions from last season, Dan? I went back and listened to the episode and listened to the last 10 minutes and went through our predictions for the season. Let's see if you can try and guess what you went with actually as we go along with these. So first up, who did you go for as champions? Who do you reckon?
Oh, I can't remember now. I was going to listen to this the other week, but Wembley got in the way as well. Just tell us.
Northampton Town. Both you and Mike went for Northampton Town.
Yeah.
I went for Stockport County. So actually, you two were a little bit better on that one. You were much closer. One place closer than I was in terms of that. So fair play to you both for that. In terms of promoted, who did you go with alongside Northampton?
Did I say Stockport or were they playoffs?
Stockport were one of them. Yep, I went for Mike went for Stockport as well. You and Mike went for exactly the same actually on this.
What was the other?
Bradford City.
Right.
But you did put a caveat, to be fair. You did say wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
So you did give a caveat, but Mike just said Stockport and Bradford. I said Northampton.
So me and Mike both got a promoted team and 2 playoff teams. Sorry, the other way around. A promoted team and 2 playoff teams,
Yeah.
Stockport and Bradford, yeah.
So I went for Northampton as one of the promoted, so I got it right. They were promoted, and Mansfield Town, who missed out on the playoffs altogether. Playoffs is an interesting one. Before we go any further, before I say yours, I've got to read out Mike's. Mike done particularly well on this one. Being sarcastic there. He picked Mansfield, Swindon, Doncaster and Walsall. Didn't get a single one of them right in terms of playoffs. What do you reckon you went for? Mansfield was one of yours, I should say, as well, actually.
Did I say us?
You said us, yep.
Yeah.
Mansfield, us.
Orient?
No, you didn't have Orient there. No. You had...
Stevenage?
No. Doncaster Rovers and Salford City.
I said us and Salford.
Yep, but no, wait till you hear mine. My playoff ones, I'm pretty pleased with this. I thought Leyton Orient would make the playoffs, so they did a bit better than I expected. Yeah. My other 3 were Carlisle, Bradford and Salford.
Not bad.
So, 3 out of 4 is not a bad return, is it, really, to be fair? In terms of relegated, Dan, you and Mike went for exactly the same again, and not great picks. You both got it wrong. In fact, all 3 of us got it wrong.
Probably said Barrow, did I?
Barrow, you both said Barrow, but you also both said Sutton United. I went for Harrogate Town and Colchester. So I got closer, to be fair. I think both of them were right down near the bottom at the end. Just didn't anticipate just how shit Rochdale and Hartlepool would be, did we? Dark Horse, we all went for the same one. And we're all bang on, to be fair, with this, I think. All three of us went for Stevenage.
Yeah.
But we also all did say us as well. We all said we might be the Dark Horse.
Yeah.
So again, all three of us got that really, really right. Unexpected strugglers. Dan, you hedged your bets massively on this one. You said 4 different teams. Because actually, let you in a little insight here, listeners. Dan had to nip off early to go to work while we were recording this episode. So you sent a load of voice notes that I dropped in later, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I had no control of what you were saying. So you said Sutton were your unexpected strugglers, but you did say or Crewe, Gillingham, or Wimbledon. You felt the teams that came down, most of them were going to struggle. Which,
And to be fair, none of the teams that came down really did much, did they?
No, Doncaster. Yeah, Doncaster in the playoffs, but
I'm classing that as a struggle.
Yeah. I went for Gillingham, which I think is a fair shout based on the first half of the season. They struggled quite a bit. Yeah, they picked up after the takeover happened. But I'm claiming that as a win. Mike went for Crawley or Salford. Completely wrong on Salford, but fair play, Crawley. That's a decent shout.
I don't think anyone realised just what a cluster FUCK Crawley would turn into.
Yeah, exactly. Top scorer. Now, listening back to this, I cocked up on editing the recording because I somehow cut out your top scorer for League Two. So it's a chance for you to just make it up here. You cannot say Andy Cook. I'm not having that at all.
I didn't say Andy Cook. I'm pretty sure we were WhatsApping earlier.
Yeah.
That I said Christian Dennis would be up there. I'm positive I did.
I have a feeling you did as well. So I'll let you have that one because I have this feeling in the back of my head you were very, very positive on him. I went for Paddy Madden. Not the greatest shot in the world, but you got into double figures, I think, so he did okay. What do you reckon Mike picked, Dan?
Oh, not sure.
Danny Hilton. Who I don't think actually has scored a goal for Northampton yet. So there you go. Manager sacked. I'm going to zoom through these. Both you and Mike went for the same thing. Matt Gray at Sutton. The first manager sacked, so he's still in charge there, so that's clearly wrong. Yeah. I went for Alex Morris at Crewe. I don't think he was first, but he was one of the first.
Yeah.
And I did give honourable mentions to Paul Hartley at Hartlepool and Wayne Brown at Colchester, who both went quite early as well. So I was fairly right on that one. CUFC ones, let's zoom through these as well. Top scorer, Dan, you got it spot on, Christian Dennis. I went for Ryan Edmondson. Mike went for Amari Patrick, so neither of us were particularly right on that one. Player of the year, you went for Morgan Feeney. Dan, not the worst shot in the world. Both me and Mike went in early. We both said Owen Moxon. So, we were both good on that one. Most improved. We all three of us went for the same player. Who do you think we went for?
I can't remember.
He didn't actually play a single game across the season. Brendan Dickinson. This was before he did his ACL, so I think we can be let off on that one. We all three of us thought that he'd do all right, but there you go. And then in terms of where Carlisle would finish, Mike went for 8th or 9th place. A proper downer, wasn't he?
I said playoffs, didn't I?
Both me and you said playoffs and win it. We both said that, to be fair.
There we go.
So, there you go. I should give a shout out to someone who listened back to the episode just before the start of the season, just before Dickinson got his injury, where apparently I suggested that Jack Almer might have to go out on loan to get some game time this season. So I'll dig that clip out and I will put it after the outro music today. Well, thank you I can't believe someone's gone back. That's clearly stuck in someone's head and thought, I'm going to remind him of that. Good. The season, absolute gits. But there you go. And that's it. That's our predictions. Looking back at them, and I think it's not the worst we've had. I think it's much better than was the previous season.
I think I got 5 out of the top 7. I'll be in different places. Top scorer for Carlisle, and I said he'd do well in the league, so I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I got 6 of the top 7. The only one I got wrong was Mansfield. I think who I had in the top 3. So Stevenage should play Mansfield, but I thought Stevenage would be a dark horse. So it's not a massive surprise. So there you go. Okay, Dan. Time to wrap up X Blues for the season, isn't it?
Yeah. As we said earlier, we're literally going to cover a few players who've been released by their clubs. We've only done the EFL teams, the 72. We're not trawling Premier League academies or non-league starts getting messy. We are aware of some transfers. A few folk send them to us, which is appreciated if we don't see them ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll do the first transfer update when we do sort of our midsummer catch-up around the fixture release. We'll rattle sort of May and June's transfers off.
Yeah.
But yeah, released players. Only one in the Championship.
Wow.
Gary Medine, Blackpool.
Yeah, that's a curious one, that was, isn't it?
But he has an ACL, so he's out till the end of the year.
Yeah,
I would think Blackpool will help his rehab.
Yeah.
It'd be bloody disgusting if they never, to be quite honest.
I think they legally have to anyway, don't they?
Yeah. But I fully expect the rumours to begin come January off this one.
Him coming back training with us or something like that. That's what you can see happening, can't you, really? So,
or you could see maybe Garner move on after a year and Medine come in, or,
Yeah,
but,
all possibilities. Yeah.
League One, we've got 5 players and some decent players here, actually. James Chester has left Derby.
Yeah.
Richard Keogh has left Ipswich. It didn't really feature much, but...
No. I suspect Keogh's winding down his career now, isn't he? I think.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be a good 36, won't he?
Yeah.
Morecambe, Cole Stockton, and Arthur Gannower have both left. They've had a massive clear out.
I mean, I think they only kept out 6 players, didn't they? I think.
Yeah.
And they're still waiting on that. That takeover that's happening there is dodgy as hell, isn't it? There's something odd going on there.
I could see Morecambe do a double bounce.
Sadly, I think I agree with you. Really, I think there's
the way they're going,
get taken over quickly.
I've certainly penciled them in as bottom half League Two, and depending on who they sign, they could be in the bottom 6 mix.
Their only saving grace I can see is having Derek Adams as their manager.
Yeah, but will he hang about forever if budgets aren't sorted and that?
No, you do wonder actually how long his patience will last there.
And Jamie Proctor at Port Vale.
Proctor's an interesting one, isn't he? No, I wouldn't, to be fair. I wouldn't be interested.
I liked him when he was at us, and he was playing a bit injured. And he actually did a lot better than people give him credit for, because he only scored, I think it was 4 in 20 games, but he actually assisted several. If he didn't assist, his nuisanceness helped the assist, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just feel with him as well, for the money we were paying, we did not get value for money, unfortunately. Just the reality of it.
No. Into League Two, Barrow. Pat Brough turned down a contract, so has been released. And Mark Ellis has, which is no surprise. Brough has been rumoured of Wrexham for several weeks.
I've seen Bradford linked as well now.
I was going to say another B team, Bolton, have been mentioned, and Bradford.
Bolton, I don't know. Jack Iredale's there, although he's still recovering from injury, isn't he? I think so.
Yeah. But Mark Ellis, no surprise, he's been out on loan several times. He's one of those, his career's winding down. Bradford released Adam Clayton.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. They only signed him in January, didn't they?
Yeah, it's another who I think's career's starting to wind down. A couple at Crewe, David Amu, and as we've already mentioned, Kelvin Mellor.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Rochdale released Reece Bennett. How much football he actually played is... I don't think he played very much for them, did he?
No, I'm just going to quick double check that while you're talking.
5 games.
Wow. Yeah.
He wasn't in the squad for weeks.
Just with him, he's made some poor decisions in his career, hasn't he, really, when you look back at it? Really has.
1 game wonder, Ashley Eastham has left Salford. He was captain there, so...
Big move, that.
If they're getting rid of the captain and main defender, they're obviously going to go big for someone, you would think.
You'd think, yeah.
Sutton, not really an ex-Blue, more an ex-trialist, but he's been mentioned. Kwame Thomas was released.
You take every opportunity to mention Kwame Thomas and Lauren Shanklin, don't you?
Yeah. Was Thomas not at Dundee, was it, on loan, which was a very strange...
Well, Dundee have had 2 or 3 players on loan from League Two. It's a really, really weird one. Although Gary Bowyer was their manager, wasn't he, I suppose? That kind of makes sense. He's managed at this level, hasn't he? So.
Yeah. And Hayden White has left Walsall.
Hayden White's an interesting one, isn't he? Really? 'Cause he was playing a bit.
Yeah, so there's actually only 15 of them.
Wow.
And likes of Andy Cook were out of contract, but he's been offered a new
Cook's
3-year
signed his
deal,
deal, hasn't he?
etc.
So
You know.
Cook's already staying, so...
I actually attempted to make a team from those released, didn't I? And forgetting the fact that there's no goalkeeper, I came up with a back five of White, Keogh, Chester, Bennett, Brough, which isn't a bad back line.
No, it's not bad at all.
A midfield of Amu, Clayton and Ganoa, and a forward line of Medine and Stockton, with Mella, Easton, Ellis, Proctor and Thomas on the bench. So there's a little bit of fun from that. But that's you would think there would be more, but no, there isn't.
I think there's a few in the National League as well, obviously, but as I said, we're not
But
looking there.
there is one or two teams still haven't released officially anyway. But
and we know
Alan
Athletic as well. Obviously, we know there was 2 or 3 there. Wasn't I think Barnes and someone else. Can't remember who it was.
Ron Steele, who's ex-White, yes.
Yep. So then both left. So there you go.
Yeah, in terms of the EFL, not that much.
No, certainly not. That's it then, Dan, isn't it? That's another season done on the Brunton Bugle. 3 seasons in now. Up to, I think, about 150 odd episodes, I think. We had 55 regular episodes this season with, I think, 3 or 4 specials thrown in there, possibly.
Yeah.
So we've done about 60 episodes this season over the 52 weeks, which is some going, isn't it, actually, when you look at it?
It is when you think about it, isn't it?
It's exhausting, actually, when you even think about how much time we spent talking. But
no, when you consider we all have to fix it around work options and whatnot, we've done bloody well. Without blowing our own trumpet, our own bugle, we've done bloody all right, haven't we?
You were waiting for that, weren't you? A chance to say that. It brings it on quite nicely, actually, there, Dan. We should blow our own bugle every now and then. But next season. So the pod's going to be back next season. Of course it is. You all enjoy it. You all tell us how much you appreciate it. That is appreciated.
And we really appreciate when folk come up to us. And, 100%. I had a couple of folk at Crewe Station on the way to Wembley, a couple of people at Wembley. And Sutton, just in general, it probably gives us a little buzz that you all enjoy what we do,
Yeah, it's brilliant. So next season, so we are gonna continue the pod as is. It's popular. Everyone seems to enjoy it, so why not? We are going to have a look at how we do the pod there. We're going to have a little think about this because we have noticed there's been a few times this season where some of the episodes have got up to almost 2 hours or 1 hour 45, and we do have to admit that is a lot, and it actually takes a lot of our time up as well, especially mine, in terms of editing it afterwards. So it's something we're going to look at, and one thing we are considering is potentially breaking the preview and the review into 2 separate episodes. So we'd maybe potentially do
something like Monday, Friday releases or something.
So do like a review on the Sunday, obviously with midweek will be a little bit different as well. But and then Friday with the preview going out, and maybe drop in some specials in between on Wednesdays and things like that occasionally. We haven't fully decided yet, but we're going to see. We're going to have a little chat over the next few weeks while we have this break before we go to the fixtures episode. We probably won't have even decided by the time the fixtures episode comes out. In fact, it's probably one we won't even decide till like a week before we start the season again. Let's do this then, shall we?
I think our plan is now, it's the start of June. We're getting this one out for tomorrow. We will have one. The fixtures come out, and I think it's the 22nd of June.
22nd,
So we'll probably record one around that and get that out, and obviously by then we'll know friendlies, probably a few signings and a bit of news and stuff, and then we'll probably do one in time for the friendlies as like the sort of first official one. That's the kind of thing, like just before the start of the first friendlies, when we know a few of the signings have come in and stuff like that. We probably won't do them every week during the friendlies. But and we will. Obviously, our season preview will be ahead of the first official episode, etc. But
absolutely, that's the plan. So we haven't fully decided what we're going to do. If you've got any ideas for any new features you'd like to see us do, because I had a couple of emails about some of these, and I think one of them was suggesting could we do like on the preview episode like a little review of Simo's pre-game press conference thing, the one that happens just a couple of days before the game. We'd love to do that more often, and I'm sure we'd be able to work with the club to potentially use little clips from that possibly in things. The problem is the day they do it, can vary from week to week, and quite
It
often
depends who and what's happening, doesn't it? I mean, some days it's on a Wednesday, some weeks it's on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be Friday afternoon.
And the Friday one would knacker us because we genuinely record this on a Thursday night, and we try to stick to that because I've had things on a Wednesday night for the whole of the last year, so I've not been able to do Wednesdays really. So it's generally a Thursday night we record, so that's where there's an issue there. So we'll see what we can do with that. But one thing I would like to say now, and we're going to put this out on Twitter as well, just to ask, we'd also like to get some more guest hosts on board because we want to take a little bit of pressure off Dan and Mike, because I rely heavily on what their shift patterns are, and there are some weeks where it's been touch and go, where both Mike and Dan are like, can't do this. We're working at all the times that you're available. So I've had to drag Greg Bullman in, and he's done a sterling job on those occasions. We'll try and get Greg on a few more times.
Certainly has.
He managed to do it twice in the Swindon games, which was a bit of a weird one, really. I don't know how that happened, but we're trying to get
Swindon.
Yeah, exactly. We will try and get Greg on a little bit more next season. But if you fancy yourself maybe of coming on, and you think, I can talk about Carlisle United, talk a load of nonsense for an hour or so, drop us a message. I can't guarantee I will take all you on to do it, really, because we have to see how people fit and stuff like that. We want to keep it all as smooth as we can, but we'll have a chat, and if you happen to know us and you fancy it, just drop us a message, and we'll see how it goes. And it'd be fantastic. As well as that, actually, if there's anyone out there who can help us in terms of stuff like graphics and a few other little bits like that, please drop us a message too, because we'd like to try and freshen those up a little bit too. We are working on a new theme song at the moment as well. Actually, it's a little sneak preview for you. You can probably guess who might be doing it for us, but they're currently working on something for us. So hopefully we'll have something maybe new for the start of the season. I know some of you'll be disappointed to not hear looking good again, but I think again we've had it for 3 seasons now.
We might keep that for specials.
Yeah, maybe mix it up. Keep that for the special episodes, possibly, just to keep you all happy there. But yeah, that's the plan, and we're going to look at a few of the little ideas. We're going to try and do a few more specials next season, try and get some interviews in the bag this summer. That's my aim, at least, anyway. I know I said that last summer, but unfortunately I was getting married last summer, so that took a little bit of my time up, so didn't get the time for it. Yeah, no, it's terrible, isn't it? It's terrible. So yeah, that's where we are in terms of the pod. So yeah, it's going to keep going, and really pleased to have you all listening. I'm going to do some thank yous in it, but actually I've just remembered, Dan, we said we're going to talk about the breaking news that came while we were recording.
Yes, season tickets have been announced this afternoon. It looks like a general £2 increase across the board. Yeah, it's pretty odd. They haven't gone up for a while. With a league higher, as Nigel Cribbins has said in interviews this week, costs are higher, player costs are higher. I don't think, and it's been since it announced. I've looked on socials. It's quite a fair reaction to it. I think mine's gone up £30.
Yeah.
But I worked it out. I'm in B stand. I think mine works out at £17 a game.
I think mine's about 15. I'm in the paddock.
It's 14.70. My mate Stevie messaged us saying he worked it out at.
I'm more than happy. I'm more than happy to pay £14.70 a game.
Yeah,
if it means
I think for me and the lad, it's 23 quid.
That's good. That At the end of the day, I'm more than happy to pay £14.70 a game if it means I don't have to listen to Bradford fans bang on about attendances all season again. Or that I don't have to go to Holker Street again for a football game anytime soon. So I think generally the reaction's been really good to it. They go on sale from Monday to early bird renewals, and then I think they go
the following week.
Yes, I think it's the following week they go on the.
It'll be interesting to see if there's an increase, because I've seen a lot of people on socials saying, "Oh, look, here it is. Shall we get one?"
Yeah,
because we're normally around the 2,000 mark, aren't we?
Well, I was just looking there before, and Morecambe have sold 15. Go on, sorry.
If we could get up to 2,500, even 3,000, that'd be fantastic.
I'd love us to get to 3,000 this time. I really think there's a good chance to do it. Simo's got us buzzing for the club again.
And for those that aren't aware, the direct debit option over 10 months, yes, you pay a £10 fee, but it's only £1 a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've only paid £35 a month for my season ticket.
Basically. I think I was paying 51 quid for me and the boy. And because it's in with all the other bills, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
It's a great way to do it. It really is.
100%. If you haven't already, consider it. Really consider it. It's really worth doing. So on sale from Monday. Go to the official website to find out. And like I said, I think most people are in agreement. I think some people were expecting a bigger increase. So I think they're quite pleasantly surprised.
Possibly.
I've seen one person complain saying, "Oh, they shouldn't be putting up and stuff."
Someone.
But
when you work it all out, the number of free games has increased from 4 to 6 as well.
And I'm sure
counteract.
And I'm sure next season they're not just going to drop it down to the 4. I reckon they'll do it like a 5. They usually do that, don't they? They try and keep people happy. And there's ways of doing it. But there you go. Right, well, that's it. So let's do the thank yous now, Dan. First up, I've got to say, huge thanks once again to the London branch for their support this season in sponsoring the pod. Really, really appreciate it. I really hope we've helped keep XLs in touch with the club. I know from speaking to guys from the London branch that it's been really positive for them. They've had some people sign up to the London branch as a result of the sponsorship, which was exactly what we want. So like I said, as we said earlier, if you want to find out about London branch, go to their website and you'll find out the details. carlisle.londonbranch.org. A huge thank you to all of us.
I was just going to say just before that, off the back of that, if anybody out there would like to help sponsor the pod, give us a shout. You know, I'm always around Carlisle. We're accessible on socials. You know, it isn't as much as you would think it is for a weekly mention, and you know, we're going to start utilising these more on the socials. Hence why we want help with graphics and stuff. You know. Yes,
definitely. So like, look, we're going to speak to the London branch to see whether they're interested in staying on for next season. You know, if they're not, fantastic. They've been brilliant for the last 3 years. Either way, we'd love to get more people involved and get more sponsors involved with the pod, and you know, anything that can help us cover our costs, because we're going to switch to a new studio system, I think, next year to make things a little bit easier.
You're all excited for that?
Yes, I am actually. Yes, it's got video capability. We're not going to put the videos up. It just makes it easy.
Good grief, no.
It makes it easier for us in terms of being able to see each other when we're talking, because at the moment we don't have video, so sometimes when there's a little bit of a delay, it's because we don't see each other and we don't see our facial reactions. So that's the reason for it. And there's a nice app we can use for this new system as well once it's launched. But yeah, definitely, if you can help us. And we've all said this, if we end up getting more in sponsorship than covers our cost, all the money's going to go back into sponsorship at the club. That's our plan.
Yeah.
Basically, we'll sponsor a shirt or something like that. You know, we'll sponsor someone, one of the coaches, something like that. That's what we'd like to do as well. If we get any additional money, and we'll top it up a little bit ourselves as well to make sure we cover it.
And we would maybe even do that shirt as a prize at the end of the season or something. You know?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we'll be looking at.
Sure, we could find a competition.
Exactly. Right, so on to the rest of the thank yous. All of our 60-second reviews this season. I genuinely think that this was your idea, Dan. Full credit. It's been a great feature to add to the pod. I think people love hearing different voices of different fans. I think we've been lucky this season in that it's been so good, hasn't it?
60 seconds is a bit questionable as well. You know,
with some of them, some of them have got a strange stretch of time, haven't they?
We're not going to stop you talking about the Blues.
No, and we've got to give a special mention, of course, to the king of the shaggers, Regan. And his catchphrase, and he's kept with it. He's kept with it all season. John Coleman printed it, but he didn't print it uncensored. That's for when we get to the championship, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
There you go. Don't be a coward, John. We all know we want to hear it. And of course, we've got to give a special mention to the most difficult man to please in Carlisle, the hardest taskmaster of the lot, young Craig Robson, in his 6-second reviews has been fantastic all season. And it was nice. It
was a momentous moment at Wembley when Craig met Regan.
Yeah, what a moment!
You know, when the handshake happened, the vibes created that win on Sunday for me.
Absolutely, that's exactly where it went, isn't it? There you go. Got to say a big thank you to Paul Newton at BBC Radio Cumbria and John Coleman for their support of the pod throughout the season. Been absolutely fantastic, and of course, actually, especially Paul as well for getting me and you on the fans forum after games this season as well. It's been really, really appreciate the shout out.
We are looking at maybe doing a couple of things with the Out of the Blue podcast in time if we can work something out.
Yeah, a little collab going on there possibly. We're going to have to wait and see how we can sort that out. I've got to give a shout out to the brilliant courage they've given to the club as well this season. It's been a great season, and we've relied heavily on some of the coverage they've given. And
shout out to James and Chris for all the miles on the motorway.
And
I know it must be hard for Lummy to put up with Phillips's tails on the up and down the M6, but no, joking apart, fantastic job this season, fellas.
And I love that video of them at celebrating the winning penalty at Wembley as well.
Yeah,
James, the utter professional, focusing on it, describing the action. Chris Hunston just disappears out of shot, running around, and
all everybody wants to know is, what does Lummy say on 12 seconds to that bloke who walks past?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it ends off.
I bet it wasn't safe to be aired.
No, 100% not. There's a good reason he took his headphones off and the microphone away.
Yeah, so put his mic down.
Yeah, exactly that. Also, Andy and Amy at the media team for allowing us to do some interviews with Simo and members of the current playing squad and helping us out with a couple of bits this season. Really appreciate that. And again, fantastic coverage they've put out over the Wembley weekend. It's been amazing to follow all that. And I've got to say thank you to every single listener who's stuck with us this season. It's been an absolute joy every time someone comes up to us at a game, as we said before, saying how much they enjoy listening to the pod. Just the comments and the feedback we've got has all been really positive. And
what we'll do over the summer in the quiet weeks, we'll put an updated map up.
Yes. Yeah,
of everywhere that's had a listener this season, if we can manage that.
It's huge now.
And if you are one of those people, reply to the tweet saying, Bahamas, yeah, that was me on holiday. You know?
Yeah, something like that. Because there's some balmy places people have listen to this podcast, by the way.
I know who a couple of the weirder ones are from fellow Blues I know that travel with work and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's been brilliant to get all the great feedback from you guys, and I really do hope you've enjoyed listening to us. It's been a real pleasure to talk about the Blues this season, really, hasn't it? It's weird, you know. We've had 2 fairly honking seasons, haven't we? Before that, that's been the problem. Is it every single listener who's enjoyed it. It's been fantastic, and I think the final thank you. Well, it's got to go to Simo, the coaching staff, and the playing squad at Carlisle United, doesn't it? Done.
Yeah, absolutely.
The most enjoyable season watching this team in probably the best part of 2 decades, I would say. I mean, I'd put it above the 07-08 season where we made the playoffs in League One. Definitely, it just had a much better vibe to it. I really hope they appreciate how much they've made a lot of people fall back in love with this club again, because it doesn't happen that often, does it? It's you know, to get that vibe from a manager and a playing squad, and it stands out to me how much they all love playing for this club and how much they've enjoyed it this year and the camaraderie they've had as a team, and that's rubbed off to the fans, doesn't it? You've seen that with, you know, the flags, the stuff that the lads in the Warwick Road end have done this season, which has been brilliant, and hopefully will continue into next season. So yeah, brilliant, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's been a real coming together this season. Long may it continue.
Absolutely. So yeah, enjoy your break, lads. But how about the championship in 12 months, eh? Sounds good to me, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you now. We're not going to play the normal theme tune out. We're going to play a little bit of the lads singing in the dressing room after the final at Wembley. So just leaves us to say, cheers everyone, and have a good summer. Up the League One Blues.
Up the League One Blues.
It's a good job their timing and singing isn't the same as their timing on offside traps, isn't it? Bloody appalling. See you later.